Hello everyone, welcome to our Law Excellences Initiative Current Affairs for Beginners. Let's start our today's session. Before starting our today's session, let us see what are the answers for the questions from our yesterday's video. The first question is, consider the following statements. Persons arrested under preventive detention cannot cast their vote. This is correct. Prohibition on voting by convicts is governed by Prisons Act of 1894. It is not Prisons Act of 1894, but it is Representation of People's Act of 1951. So as the statement 2 is wrong, only 1 is correct. The answer here is A. The next question is, consider the following statements. National Disaster Response Force comes under the purview of Defense Ministry. It is not Defense Ministry, it is Home Ministry. National Executive Committee plans and approves guidelines for disaster management for ensuring timely and effective response to disaster. It is not the Executive Committee, it is the National Disaster Management Authority which will plan and approve the guidelines, whereas this NEC will execute those plans of NDMA. So as both the statements are wrong, the answer here is D. Neither one nor two. Now let's start our today's session. So first article is, Telangana government announced 2 novel schemes for the welfare of the people. This kind of state news will be helpful for the people who are preparing for groups, and in our UPSC this will be part of GS paper 2 under the topic of social justice, where the welfare schemes for the vulnerable sections were launched by the center and states. And the 2 schemes were, one is Kanti Velugu and the other one is Raitu Bhima. This Raitu Bhima is a life insurance cover of 5 lakhs for every farmer in Telangana who were in the age group of 18 to 59 years. Whereas this Kanti Velugu program is like eye care for everyone in Telangana, where all the eye related checkups will be done for free, like eye screenings, medicines and specs and various surgeries will be done at free of cost. Our next article is, Pune tops ease of living index and Patna ranked the lowest of all the cities. This falls under GS1 urbanization, under the topic of urbanization. From the prelims point of view, from this article, it is important to know that who releases this ease of living index. It is the Union Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. And we have to know that on what basis this index is released. This index is mainly based on 4 parameters. One is on governance. That means how the area is getting governed, and the other is based on social factors like education, health, etc. And based on physical infrastructure, that is how well is the infrastructure, like how the roads are there, how well is the transport is functioning over there. And the last one is based on economic factors. So based on these 4 parameters, this index is released by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. And it is Pune which has topped this list, and Patna, the capital city of Bihar, is in the lowest. Our next article is, Disclose panels on sexual harassment companies too. Rules amended by the Corporate Affairs Ministry. This article will be under the GS paper 2 as well as paper 4. Under GS 2 it will be under the governance, and 4 it is related to ethics at workplace. So from this article we are going to see about Internal Complaints Committee. The Supreme Court, in its landmark judgment in Vishaka and others versus State of Rajasthan, the Supreme Court has stipulated some famous Vishaka guidelines, where it said that the sexual harassment is a human right violation. That means it is violating the constitutionally guaranteed fundamental rights like Article 14, 15, which says about right to equality, and Article 21, that is having right to life and to live with dignity, whereas Article 19 clause 1 clause G, which says there is a right to practice any profession, trade, occupation and business, which means it is guaranteeing a right to a safe environment free from harassment. So, to redress and to resolve the grievances that were related to sexual harassment, Supreme Court thought that there is a need for the guidelines, and those guidelines are the Vishaka guidelines. And this has become an act called Sexual Harassment at Workplace 2013. This act has made it mandatory, and it said that it is the employer's duty to prevent and prohibit the acts of sexual harassment at workplace. As it is the duty of the employer to provide a safe working environment for the women at workplace, and it is a duty of the employer to constitute this internal complaints committee. This committee will be established if an organization or a company is employing 10 or more employees, and at least half of the members of this internal complaints committee should be women. As it is said in this article, here we can see the presiding officer who is a women employee at senior level. That means a women senior level women employee should be the presiding officer of this committee, and at least 2 employees should be committed to the cause of women, and there should be a member from an NGO or a person who is familiar with the issues relating to sexual harassment. And this internal complaints committee should prepare and submit an annual report to the employer and also to the district officer. It can be the district collector or whoever is designated under this act. So as per the act, the aggrieved women, the victim, can complain here in writing to this internal complaints committee within 3 months of the last incident. And if the woman is not in a position to file the complaint due to her physical or mental incapacity or death, then the legal heir of that woman can file the complaint. That means a legal heir like mother, father or husband or daughter or anybody. In the absence of this internal complaint committee, there is another committee called as local complaints committee. What is this local complaints committee? The district officer should constitute this local complaint committee in every district. This is a grievance redressal body for all the organizations in the district which were having less than 10 employees and who had not set up this internal complaints committee. And these local complaint committee will include eminent women who are working in the area of social work and committed towards this cause of women. And she will be the chairperson, and 2 other members will be there from the NGO who are committed to the cause of women. So the women, in the absence of this internal complaints committee, can approach even the local complaints committee in the district. And this committee should complete the inquiry within 3 months. And by completing the inquiry, they will report. The report will be sent to the employer and the district officer. So it is mandatory to take action on the report within 2 months. The employer or the district officer should take action based on the report within 2 months. So from this amended rules, we can say that were seeked by the Women and Child Development Ministry, the Corporate Affairs Ministry has amended these companies rules of 2014, which has made it mandatory for the companies to disclose if they have constituted this internal complaints committee or not. That means they should tell that. That means they should constitute this, and in case if they fail to constitute the internal complaints committee, then a fine up to 50,000 will be charged on the employer. Our next article is based on e-cigarettes. Let us see what it is, and this topic will come under GS paper 2 under the topic of issues that were related to development and management of social sector or services that are related to health. What are these e-cigarettes? This e-cigarette is a handheld electronic device that vaporizes a flavored liquid which is made up of various products like nicotine, glycerin, propylene glycol and various other flavors. So now what is the problem with these e-cigarettes? Actually, these e-cigarettes were being projected as therapy or like tobacco cessation products. And these e-cigarettes, they will not come under the ambit of Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Act of 2003, which has mandated to have health warnings on the tobacco products. We can see that like tobacco causes cancer or smoking is injurious to health. These kind of warnings we can see on the cigarette packet itself. Whereas this e-cigarette is not under the ambit of this act. And when it comes to the safety of this product, there is a possibility of this product might get exploded, and if any accidental consumption of this flavored liquid inside this e-cigarette can even lead to death. And as per the World Health Organization's global report on smoking, it has said that in 2015 the number of smokers in India is on decline. But this unregulated sale of e-cigarettes is becoming a gateway for smoking by inducing nicotine addiction and perpetuating smoking by making it more attractive and encouraging people to become users of tobacco and cigarettes. So the article is completely saying that the government should impose appropriate restriction on the sale and advertisement of these products, whether online, and also to include proper health warnings on the product. Because any absence of this regulatory approval for the use of these e-cigarettes will make it a serious public health threat. Our next article is Making Lateral Entry Work. This comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. So what is meant by this lateral entry? We being UPSC aspirants, we know that to get into civil services like IAS, IPS, so the candidate has to clear 3 stages of this UPSC exam like prelims, mains and then interview. And the other vacancies in the Indian civil services will also be filled by promotion of eligible candidates working in different state services. Whereas this lateral entry means bypassing these 2 options, that is entry level exam and promotion. That is, now the Indian government has put up a proposal for selecting private individuals for appointment in the ranks of various deputy secretary, director and joint secretary. This appointment of private individuals into the civil services is called as lateral entry. So if we see this, if this kind of system is there in other countries, yes, a position based senior executive service is found in like various other countries like US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, where the appointments to the senior positions will be made from a wider pool like comprising of civil servants who were qualified to apply, and also the applicants were welcomed from private sector also. They say that this lateral entrants will bring in their own work culture that will renew the government organizations. Whereas from this article it is saying that if it will be successful in India or not. So they are saying that for this concept to be successful, it has to follow 5 steps. Like here they have mentioned, first one is to establish objective criteria. Like on what criteria these private entrants were being recruited. It has to be specifically mentioned, like what are the skills and qualifications should be, this kind of criteria, and target the talent you need. This is properly talking about specialization. That means if there is any requirement in the research of agriculture, then recruit a person who is specialized in agriculture. If it is related to technology, recruit a person who is specialized and who is an expert in this area. And the other is look for the potential to succeed in the environment. That means if they are the potential people or not. And they say that there are 3 key factors to see their potentiality, like they should be resilient and they should have high level of curiosity and ability to engage with others. And the next one is less is more when it comes to selection panel. So we know that in our interview board there will be like 5 to 6 people interviewing one person. They are saying that instead of many panel members, it can be like 1-to-1 interview, so that they can explore more about the candidate's career, their mindset and their approach. And finally, it is accelerate the new hires integration. That means the new entrant, the private entrant, should be able to differentiate between his old working environment, which is the private sector, and this new government sector. So he should be able to follow a systematic approach, and he should be able to differentiate this cultural differences between this old and new work, so that he'll be able to integrate and he can perform better. Our next article is Indians will live longer if pollution is under check. According to UPSC syllabus, this will come in GS paper 3 under the topic of environment, that deals with environmental pollution and degradation. From the prelims point of view, there is nothing much that will be important, but let us see how can we use this article, some points of this article, while writing a mains answer. When any question, like either opinion based question or any question asking like suggest the measures regarding air pollution, then we can use the recommendations that were suggested in this report, so that will add credibility and value to our answers. We can use these recommendations, like it has recommended to improve the emissions monitoring by better aligning incentives of auditors and provide real-time data on polluters' emissions, and to apply monetary charges for excess emissions. This is nothing but polluters pay principle, which means the polluter has to pay the charge. And the other one is providing public with information about polluters, and by using markets to reduce abatement costs and pollution. And we can use this report name, and we can say that if these recommendations were implemented, then the life expectancy will increase by more than 1 year. This is how we can use the points from the articles and use them in our answers. Now let's see our today's questions. Consider the following statements. Ease of Living Index is released by Niti Aayog. It takes into account 10 parameters to measure the index. And our next question is on Internal Complaints Committee. Consider the following statements. At least 50% of the Internal Complaint Committee members should consist of women. Local Complaint Committee is constituted for the organizations with more than 10 employees. Try to answer these questions and post the answers in the comment box. The detailed explanation for these questions will be done in the next video. And this is our Law Excellence website, and this is our official Telegram channel of Law Excellence, where you can access the notes for these core videos. Thank you.